After all the hype, I was hoping I had finally uncovered the gem of all gems, the UMR Phase 5 margin call to end all margin calls. Hey guys, Tony Denaro here, and September 1st is right around the corner and people are frothing at the mouth, excited about this Phase 5 UMR, the Uncleared Margin Rules, going into effect. I've seen a lot of clickbait YouTube videos and some really good due diligence on Reddit. And I want to spend 5 minutes with you. If you're not a financial wizard and you want to know the facts about what this UMR Phase 5 is, and is it a date you should really be watching, stick with me and I'll lay out the facts. The important thing to remember, no matter where the next couple of minutes conversation leads us, is that the apes are not going anywhere. We continue to see the short interest growing again, and the shorts have not covered. I feel confident enough to continue to hold my shares, and I am continuing to buy on the dips. Let's take a minute to look at some background so we can understand, first of all, what it is we're going to be talking about. And this is a really good due diligence post on the AMC Stock Reddit page. Credit to PB Jelly Games. And he goes through a very lengthy discussion about the Phase 5 UMR. And what a lot of people neglect to look at is the very last paragraph. I'm not here to overhype for YouTube views, so please do not go forth and reference my due diligence with dates or claim that I said mother of all short squeezes tomorrow. Unfortunately, of course, the first thing people do when they read his headline is go make YouTube videos saying mother of all short squeezes is happening on September 1st. I'm going to put links to all this stuff in the video description, so if you want to read them at your leisure, it will be there. And here's another really shady letter on Citadel's actual website where they're asking for a reconsideration of the exemption from uncleared initial margin rules. And a lot of people read this and think Citadel is scared of these margin rules. The final juicy tidbit that is being spread far and wide on Twitter is an actual quote from Bob Stewart, the DTCC executive director. There will be an upsurge in the volume of margin calls and an increase in the need for third-party custodians to safekeep collateral. That sounds really scary if you don't know what he's talking about. I don't like reading quotes out of context, so I actually took a minute to find his speech where he made this comment. Let's listen to that for just 1 second.
I'm here to talk about collateral and how we can automate it within the industry with the focus on an upcoming regulation, uncleared margin. In less than 4 months, in September 2021, Phase 5 of uncleared margin regulation for uncleared OTC derivatives will be implemented. UMR is focused on collateral and margin management processes and has been implemented in phases since 2017. It is anticipated that UMR will drive an upsurge in the volume of margin calls and an increase in the need for third-party custodians to safekeep collateral. As a result, UMR will likely require many firms to make significant changes to their existing collateral management processes. A large number of these processes are very manual today, which can often lead to transactional processing errors and settlement failures, all things that we're looking to avoid within the industry. Without a doubt, this upcoming Phase 5 will capture the largest number of firms that trade derivatives. Therefore, it's critical that in-scope firms are well on their way for preparations for compliance with these new rules.
So now that we have a little bit of background, let's talk about what is this rule exactly and how is it going to play out, and is it something that we need to be watching? Let's start off with talking about what does the UMR apply to and why do we have it? This all came from the 2008 mortgage crisis, so this is something that has been in the works for many years. A lot of derivatives are cleared through clearinghouses, but there are some that are uncleared, so that's where we get the U in uncleared margin requirements. They're putting in place some safeguards now so that some of these derivatives that are not going through clearinghouses do have margin in place in case one party becomes insolvent. It doesn't let the whole house of cards fall down like what happened in 2008. The types of uncleared derivatives that we are talking about are foreign exchange options, swaptions, hedging trades, equity swaps, and forwards, just to name a few. This rule does not apply to derivatives like the options that we're more familiar with that go through clearinghouses. This is for uncleared derivatives. To really get a grasp of this rule, it's important you understand that it has been ongoing since September of 2016. We're just now getting ready to go into phase 5. So phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 have been implemented between 2016 and 2019. And as we can see in the right-hand column, these phases affected firms that have very high AANA. Phase 1 was above 3 trillion, phase 2 above 2.25 trillion, phase 3 1.5 trillion, phase 4 0.75 trillion. Now we're getting down to the smaller guys. Phase 5 will affect that segment of companies that have above 50 billion but less than 0.75 trillion. So what exactly happens with this rule? Well, when an institution enters into one of these uncleared derivatives, now there's going to be a third party which is going to take collateral from both sides and hold on to it until the expiration of the derivative. That is what they call the initial margin. And it's important to note that this rule only applies to new derivative agreements that go into place after September 1st. So if you're hoping that all of the derivatives that they already have in place prior to September 1st are going to generate some margin call, that's not going to happen. This rule only applies to new transactions that happen after September 1st. And I've highlighted that here for you. The rules only require funds to post initial margin on new transactions entered to after the compliance date. When I look at what the initial margin is in the table, depending on the asset class, it looks like it varies between 2 and 15% of the transaction value is what they're going to have to put up as collateral for transactions going forward after September 1st. So to wrap this up with what I foresee happening with the UMR Phase 5, I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. These companies have known about this since 2016 and they've had plenty of time to prepare the compliance. Could some of them be caught off guard and not have everything in place? Absolutely. But they've had plenty of time to prepare for it. My second thought is a large part of the industry has already implemented UMR and we didn't see any crazy waves of margin calls rocking the market. So although phase 5 is being over 50 billion, that 50 billion to 0.75 trillion is probably the largest quantity of firms, I'm not expecting to see any craziness going on with margin calls because of this UMR Phase 5. And the final point that I want to leave you with is this does not apply to pre-existing derivative transactions. So it will only apply to things going forward and they can plan for that as they enter into these new derivative transactions. So my takeaway is that September 1st is probably going to be a non-event if you're expecting UMR Phase 5 to yield some crazy margin call on hedge funds in the market. I seriously doubt if we're going to see anything like that. Hopefully I've laid out my case, and if you agree or disagree, or if you have questions about anything, drop me a comment and I will be happy to respond. If you enjoy this type of fact-based content and don't enjoy clickbait videos, then don't forget to buy and hold that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next video.